This is one of my favourite parts of the garden at East Ruston, the walled section, quite recently constructed, but it does mean that the plants in here are a good couple of weeks ahead of the plantings, even where they are so beautifully enclosed in the green walls that are created out of the beech and lime here. But this garden really is a fantastic mixed planting of roses, wildflowers, foxgloves, lilies, some herbs in here. I can see fennel in the foreground, and then the climbers that are allowed to come right up over the walls with the figs, rose arches. Let's just walk around and see what else we can see. Just look at this spectacular, not sure what that is, some form of evergreen that's just giving these bright red stems all the way up here. And this rose, not a variety I'm familiar with, but again, absolutely spectacular magenta flowers all the way up it at the moment. Just picking up the colour in that. And against this wall it's just getting beautifully baked, and just look at these size of these leaves. Fennel, daylilies I think there, foxgloves, and the roses a good couple of weeks ahead of their counterparts out in the open. And on the back sunny wall, another conservatory, this one filled with pelargoniums, flowering absolutely beautifully. Just look at this display. Wonderful collection, nicely matched in colours. And something I'm really envious of, just look at these apricots growing here in a pot. It says it's a peach actually, Prunus pechstevigs. Wonderful, look at that. What beautiful things to grow if you've got a conservatory to protect this from leaf curl. They're looking very, very fine indeed. Much of the herbaceous in this walled garden still to do its thing. The roses just starting into bloom here at the end of May, beginning of June. So full of bud and promise. Cow parsley allowed to fill in. A little bit of herbaceous geranium. Wow, just look at that rose at the back there. Massive old-fashioned quartered rose, and the leaf growth on it's just fantastically healthy. More irises, euphorbias, roses, figs on the wall, the rose arch just about to explode. The beautiful structures, everything in this garden just inspires you to try and create a little bit of it in your own garden. And it's not all outdoor spaces. They've created some beautiful interiors from which to enjoy the garden in all weathers. This garden room created at the end of the walled garden, with vistas going back into that garden but also out into the garden extending around it, with views out under those limes and the wild flower meadow, back onto that formal gate that we got the long view of earlier when walking down one of these avenues. Wonderful indoor spaces from which to start looking, and it just draws you out into the rest of the garden. That rose we spotted earlier from the other side, absolutely massive thing, beautifully healthy, not a bit of black spot on it. These large buds just break into this beautiful textured red and gold before exploding into this quartered massive pink flower. It's an absolute wonderful rose. I wish it was labelled and I could find a variety. Fades beautifully to almost a peachy pink. Wonderful. Red astrantias that we grow back on the farm, doing really nicely here. They'll seed very reliably in this sort of environment. I'm sure there'll be plenty of young ones down in the base of this border if I started digging. Wonderful large rose arch just starting into flower. The end of May. It is a late season for roses. Normally this might be already fully out, but it's been quite a coolish spring, so the roses still have a little bit of catching up to do to where they'd normally be at this time of year. So we'll make our way out of the walled garden. It just goes on. Just look at that fruit cage. Absolutely massive structure containing cherries. Beautiful.